You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan.
Welcome to Women's Media Center Live. I'm Robin Morgan. And happily, we are not presiding over the death of a civilization, e.g. Iran, this morning, per Trump's usual well-trod path of destructiveness, but instead we're going to do something different. We are going to plow ahead, and do so with a very interesting show. It's revisiting the pornography front, but in a new and different way. As one of our guests, we have Professor Gail Dines. You may remember she's been a guest on this show before. She is a professor emerita of sociology and women's studies at Wheelock College in Boston. She's also the founder and president of the nonprofit organization Culture Reframed, dedicated to building resilience and resistance in youth to hypersexualized media and pornography, solving the public health problem, thus, of the digital age, which it is. She is an internationally known speaker and appears regularly on major media and on major networks. Her TEDx talk has been viewed 500,000 times, and she's a recipient of the Myers Center Award for the Study of Human Rights in North America. And we also have Catechism, or Cataclysm. That's her web name. Her real name is Katie Ramsey. She's part of the peer-to-peer aspects of Culture Reframed. She's known for her discussions of complex cultural issues, including the impact of pornified culture. And they're both here to discuss what they're doing about violent pornography and how they are actually making some progress. So we'll be back with both of them in just a minute after this short message. Subscribe to this program on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review. Follow us on Twitter at WMC Live, like our Facebook page at facebook.com/WMC Live, and visit us at WMCLive.com for more information about our show and our guests.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan.
Dr. Gail Dines, otherwise known as my dear friend Gail, and my new friend, Katie Klasm. Is that how you pronounce it, Katie?
Yeah, you could just call me Katie. It's Cataclysm, but
of course
honestly,
it's Cataclysm.
Yeah, I don't mind anything.
Because that's the pun, but all right, I call you Katie. Welcome, both of you, to Women's Media Center Live. It's wonderful to have you both here, and it's good to have both of you. And we're going to talk today about the work that Gail does and has done for years and years. And how many years is it, Gail?
That I've been doing this?
Work on pornography.
35.
My God, and it's amazing work that she's done. She has saved generations of male people and encouraged and supported generations of female people. And she is a social scientist in terms of the effects of pornography on youth. And together with Katie, who is going to talk today about, from a youth standpoint, about the effects of growing up in a pornified culture as a young woman. So this is fascinating because we're always getting the crap from the opposition about, well, young people just adore it. It depends who you're asking, for one thing, if you're asking men or you're asking women. And it depends on where it's coming from. So I'm going to throw that open and say, Gail, do you want to take a minute or two and just bring us up to date on the status of Culture Redefined?
One of the ways that we approach, the way is through a public health approach.
Mm-hmm.
And in a public health approach, you take the kid at the center, and then you work with all the people who are to support this kid. Sadly, no, very few adults have done this around pornography. You know, there's been a real dereliction of duty. So what we do and what we've done is we've written programs for parents on how to talk to kids about pornography. We've written a whole porn critical curriculum, which comes with slides, lesson plans, everything for the teacher. You can use it in order, you can take some stuff out, but the teacher can do whatever they need with it, because most teachers are not even really sort of certified in teaching sex ed, let alone a porn critical sex
Of course.
So we've done everything, and it's for high schools. It's the first of its kind. And if you go on our website, culturereframed.org, you can get onto the program, and it's all free, by the way. Everything we do is free. We do not charge, because we want everyone to have access to our programs. So at the moment, we're also building a program with the child advocacy centres, who are the first group. It's a multidisciplinary team to actually meet the kids who've been sexually abused. That's the first port of call. And they cause not being asked about pornography. So there's 915 CAC, something like that. We're in 25 states working with them. And we've just we're writing a program for forensic interviewers on how to ask questions to kids who've been sexually abused about the role of pornography in both perpetration and the harm on them. So this is because people, again, you need to ask questions of kids very carefully.
Of course.
Especially after they've been sexually abused, about how pornography was involved. So we've contracted with a group of forensic interviewers, and that will be online soon. And now we've moved into a peer-to-peer training group, where what we're doing is, and we started last year, is we're getting young people together between the ages of 16 to 23. And we're basically going to work with them to train them about the harms of pornography, how to give lectures, etc. And then they will go out to their schools and communities and do peer-to-peer training, because the studies show that peer-to-peer training is way more effective than an adult to kids.
This is fantastic, Gail.
Yeah, we're going to spread out. And we've contracted, again, we've actually partnered with the largest peer-to-peer training group that trains young people on sexual abuse, but there's nothing on pornography in there. So we're going to be to them their extra modules on pornography, and they're going to basically teach us on how you do the peer-to-peer training. So there's a lot going on. Of course, the big news is that the head of OnlyFans just died.
The head of,
and nobody knows where that's going at the moment. I'm
sorry,
sure
the head of what?
OnlyFans just died. Leo Udvinsky. He was only 42, so he was not anticipate. I mean, he died of cancer, but it's now sort of left a question mark of where this is going, because the whole new landscape of pornography is actually OnlyFans, where basically a cam porn site where the women in real time get paid for basically acting out pornographic acts in a one-on-one. And the reason for that is that the men who use porn are bored with recorded porn.
Oh, I see. So they want it live. They want it live and in color.
Yeah, you see, they're consumers, but now they've become producers as well.
I see.
So, of course, what they produce, and they produce it because they tell the woman what to do. Just so people know, the average OnlyFans, they call them content creators rather than calling them prostituted women. The head of the content creators make, on average, $130 a month.
Oh, God.
So this is going to reshape the industry. We don't know how yet.
Because he died and we don't know who's taking over? Was that what you said at the beginning?
We don't know.
Ah, I see.
No.
Wow. Okay. Well, that gives us a base on which to stand, at least. Thank you, Gail. And Katie. Okay. Hello. I'm talking to youth itself now, and to conscious youth. So talk a bit about what it is like to grow up in a pornified culture.
So I always, I guess, start with my upbringing and I guess the adults that I had around me. I think growing up, I was very much in the mindset that pornography was almost, I guess, a coming of age, a rite of passage, something that everybody does.
Of course.
I mean, it's always been like that, since I was young, but it's still like that now. In fact, I think it's getting even worse because when I was growing up, it was something that I think we all thought, well, everybody did it, but it was something we kept secret. Whereas now it's not even something, that's secretive
it's out in the open, right?
Yes.
We're proud of it. We affirm it.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. And if anything, you're the weird one for saying, actually, I don't think that this is normal, and I don't think that this is helping young people, or and I think it's having a negative impact on people. I think now it's gotten to a point where you are the odd one out to say that you're against pornography, or that to point out the effect that it's having. And to go on from what Gail was talking about, where she was talking about OnlyFans and how that's going to have, I guess, more of an impact moving forwards, because
is it
she mentioned,
excuse me, I want to be sure I've got this correctly. Is it OnlyFans or only?
Yes, OnlyFans. Yeah.
Okay.
So the whole premise behind OnlyFans is that it's behind a paywall, so you pay. You can then talk to them. You have to pay to talk to the woman, basically. So there's more of a parasocial kind of relationship going on. And over the past few years, we've already seen these, I guess, OnlyFans creators doing really extreme stunts.
Wow.
So it's becoming, obviously.
For example, give us that.
So there was a woman called Bonnie Blue who she did a stunt where she slept with 1,057 men in 12 hours.
Oh my God.
Yes. Yeah. And what that's done is create more of a competition in the OnlyFans world, so to speak. Obviously, we know that pornography is really competitive anyway. I think, porn is always competing to create the most body punishing content and the most extreme things. And, that OnlyFans isn't separate from that. In fact, it's
part and parcel.
Yeah. And it's obviously with, take the extreme stunts that you have to do to be successful on their website, combined with the fact that there is so many loud voices saying that it's empowering and it's all about, choice to do it. It's a pretty harmful combination. So I think we're seeing a lot of porn and, porn culture seeping into social media, which I think is the really dangerous part about, I guess, technology and how that's having a role to play in the ever-growing porn industry. But I think I look back at when I was younger and how bad it was, and I mean it's kind of just getting worse, really. So I always fear for the people in schools, which is why, again, what Gail's organization is doing is really great.
Oh, it's fantastic! It's incredible. I wanted to ask you both about this. There's a new book out recently by Laura Bates, an English woman. I don't know if you know her work.
Yes,
Of course you do. And it's called The New Age of Sexism, and it is fan-bloody-tastic. It is incredible. It's primarily about porn and the deleterious effects, is putting it mildly, the disastrous effects of porn, and the effects of AI in its current uncontrolled and unregulated form. And I thought I had a pretty good grasp of this because of the podcast and because I've had a number of can you hear, Gail? I just want to be okay. But I had a number of guests on in terms of social media, in terms of online stuff, and I knew the problem online for women in general, that we're hated and we were told to go home, to be in prison, die fast, let me kill you, and so I thought I knew, but the Laura Bates book opened my eyes big time. Because it takes you where you don't go. I mean, so you are experiencing this reality, alternate though it may be, and sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't, in ways that you could never have imagined. That is what, if you haven't read it, I urge you to, if you have, read it again. She's quite brilliant. She's hopeful, but she's very much on alert. And I think that that's a position that we all have to adopt. I mean, this has now gone too long, too much the wrong way. That one was one, and the other book. These are both guests I've had on recently, so I'm still fresh from them. The other person is Judith Ann Giesberg, Giesberg, and she did a book called. It's a scholarly book, but it's a very interesting book called "Sex and the Civil War." And I, and it has a subtitle about pornography, and I thought, what the, this is a book about, what is this? And it is an exploration of how and when in the American consciousness, because it's the American consciousness that first surfaced pornography as a desirable and then a deplorable, but it's still desirable uh, element in our social cultures. So it came out of America. I'm not saying porn didn't exist before that. It was in Roman times, but this was the first universalizing, if you will, of pornography, and it built toward this quadrillion-dollar industry that it now is, the largest industry in the world. If you factor in, of course, all of its, um, pornography and prostitution and the sex industry and all of those interlocking webs. So the absolutely stunning aspect of the book called Sex and the Civil War is that it was during the Civil War that pornography first became popular. That it first became a thing you did with the soldiers on both sides. And that it became marketed in a mass way, in a mass form. And Comstock became involved. You remember Comstock and Comstock? Okay.
The Comstock law, yeah.
Exactly. And Comstock became involved, and he was, of course, obsessed with pornography and obsessed with getting rid of it and obsessed with driving it into the grave. But he got obsessed with it in that way that people who are obsessed with something can be very much for it. He needed it. He needed it around in order to traduce it. And it is through his legislation that he proposed and campaigned for that pornography began to be connected to and linked with abortion. Fascinating, because this was all bad things that women did with their bodies under the general heading, "Oops, bad things, women." So that the entire background of abortion is not as much the Catholic Church as we had always thought, because the Catholic Church, up until Napoleon's time, was was pro-abortion. I mean, not pro-abortion, but it was not. It had no rulings on it. But it was so Napoleon could have extra soldiers to use as cannon fodder. But it had already been a thing. It had already was beginning to creep into international consciousness, and that's because of Comstock. Because as far as he was concerned, the looser the sex, the more oppressive to women, the more outrageous, the more transgressive, then the more that pointed toward abortion, and of course, abortion was going to be a sin. So both of these books, I think, are fascinating, and read together, they really clear your sinuses. I mean, oh God. So you're up against a formidable enemy, the two of you, and I applaud you both. And I think, Gail, is that what you're doing in the schools, and I take it that you're part of this peer-to-peer work, Katie?
Yes.
So how did...
Katie's not at the moment now, because Katie lives in England and we're doing this in the US.
I see. Oh, I see. So how does it work in the US? People contact you and say, "I want to have something at my school," or what? How does it work?
How it works here is, I have to say, people call us and they say, how many how many offices do you have? In how many cities? Well, we don't have an office, and we have 4 people full time and 3 part time. It's like,
With their eyes falling out.
it's such a joke, And the thing is that we have become international. It is astounding how we've just celebrated our 10th year, and we are definitely now the go-to science-based organization. So we work all over the world.
Some of that is my fault because I rave about you all over the place. But I'm sorry, but I'm not. Go ahead.
And we're involved also, we've been very involved in the age verification law, where you have to prove you're 18 through a third party, and only then can you get onto a porn site. And the laws in this country, as you would imagine, are kind of toothless, right?
Yeah.
About 20 odd states. The fantastic best law is in the UK. Why? Because first of all, it's written by Labour, more left. The age verification law here is written by the Conservatives, and they have the word obscenity in it. And we all know as feminists that's a useless term.
Yes, it is.
It takes it from a moral
right.
It takes it to a moral issue rather than what it should be, which is a child protection and violence against women issue.
Right.
But in England, it was written, and not only do you have to show you're 18, if you are found to be, a website is found to be out of compliance, then you are fined either £10 million or 10% of your income, whichever is higher.
Wow.
And now, evidently, according to the BBC, travel to Pornhub, which is the largest porn site in the world, in the UK has gone down 70% since July.
Oh my God, that's fantastic, Gail.
Yeah, that's how effective. And Pornhub is talking about pulling out of the UK altogether.
Oh, Gail, this is wonderful. This is good news for a change.
It is. And we worked with...
I'm so used to bad news these days, coming from Washington or wherever it's coming from. But this is wonderful, wonderful.
No, it's because it was written by progressives in the UK. We were very involved in that. I mean, I've been involved in trying to get that passed for about 15 years.
Yes.
The people who wrote it are experts in technology, law, child protection. They all came to the table. Whereas in this country, it doesn't have that it doesn't have the teeth.
No, it doesn't.
I mean, the truth is, the only thing the pornographers are interested in is money.
Yeah.
Right? So that's how you hit them the hardest.
Right.
So if you're getting fined £10 million, which is about what, $14 million per infraction, you can bring them, basically you can bankrupt them. And that's the goal. The goal is to make it so impossible financially to produce and to consume. No other way. You talk about obscenity, it's ridiculous. What is obscene anyway in a porn society?
That's right, of course.
It's interesting in pornography.
They de-obscene everything so that nothing is obscene.
Yeah, well, actually, there's one thing that's obscene in pornography that you can't show, and that's kissing.
Well, they'll change that.
Well, no, you know why? Because she's a, quote, filthy whore, cum dumpster. Why would you kiss somebody who's a slut?
I see.
So they're not worthy of it, these women, because that's why it's obscene, because she's obscene and she's vile and she's dirty,
Mm-hmm. I see. Oh God. This is very good news, though. This is amazing, and of course, in the States, it's not operative at all. Well, is there any movement on to imitate it here?
No.
Of course.
I mean, look, everything's falling apart here. Let's be honest.
Yeah, of course.
There's nothing left, and the truth is, the Republicans. I don't know when you see what's coming out about them. Really, how anti-porn are they?
Well, yeah, they manage a double whammy, which is that everybody knows that, for example, Trump's had many mistresses and many lovers and many prostituted women and many, everything, and yet he bows his head and he acts like he's a reformed religionist. And so everybody knows that, and everybody knows the same thing about their positions on everything. Everybody knows that they denounce sex, and even good sex. They denounce free, loving, emotionally involved.
That's not good sex for them,
No,
though.
no, of course not.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so that they denounce, while at the same time promulgating under the table
yeah.
sexual pornography. So everybody knows this, and they kind of go along with it in a completely psychotic, split personality
Absolutely.
fashion. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's hard to get your head around what's going on. And to be honest, I mean, if the right wing are against pornography, what they're really against is women. Okay, I'm going
Yes,
to
that's
give you
right.
an example. There's a guy in Florida who is running for governor. He's 31 years old.
Hmm.
I think his name is something Fishburne, and he's been getting a lot of news recently, a lot of publicity. Why?
Hmm.
Because part of his platform in running is that he calls it a sin tax, S-I-N
Mm,
tax. And
yeah.
what he wants to do is he wants to tax not the billionaire who owned OnlyFans, who was worth about 6 billion. He wants to tax the women.
Mm. Yeah,
Oh
you
my
talking
God.
about James Fishback?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, yeah, I saw
Why?
that.
Because the women are responsible. Because the women are the
Yeah.
dirty ones. I
Yeah,
see.
exactly.
I
He's
see.
going to leave the billionaire free, not touch him. Who's we have to see again who's going to take over.
How
But you're
amazing.
going to tax the poorest of the poorest women, the most oppressed,
Yeah, of course, of course.
and he's
Oh.
calling it sin.
Mhm.
Katie, what did you hear in?
Yeah, so I did a whole video about this. He basically was saying, it's sinful, and if he's elected, he'll introduce a sin tax. Basically, he even he publicly called out one of the largest, again, you called them OnlyFans creators, so to speak. And he kind of started an online feud with her, or I guess all in the name of gaining, sympathy from people who hate women. I see this all the time on social media. I'll make a post or a video talking
Mhm.
about the effects of pornography, and it will get a lot of attention. And then I find after a period of time, I realize that a lot of these people are just misogynists who hate the women
Yeah.
who are in porn. They point the finger with one hand and then masturbate with the other.
Yes, of course.
So that seems to be what happens a lot of the time, and it's very difficult sometimes to actually, see who it is that actually is against pornography because they're against the exploitation, and degradation of women, or the people who just want to, I guess, uphold Christian like family ideals, and that's why they're so anti-porn.
Well,
So this,
I think they may boil down to the same fine point, you know? I mean,
yeah.
maybe I'm saying that because I've been at this a long time, but they do diminish in and grow in intensity at the same time toward the same very fine point, because when you get into at least fundamentalism kind of Christianity, an obsessed power control, male control over women, over the family, over all things family and all things female, then you're perilously close to everything anti-woman too, and
Mhm.
so it leads to the same, in a sense, departing point that you take all for hell, um, and uh, and that's pretty alarming. Oh God,
It's
what?
awful. Can I just do a shout out for Katie? Can I say, um, everyone should know about her YouTube channel.
Yes, talk about it.
Yeah, and I want to say I was on it and interviewed. She has, I think, over 300,000. She can tell you. But the debate after I was on that we got, how I can't even remember. It was so many people responding to it. But I just want you to say what you do, Katie, because it's absolutely exceptional. I mean, you have basically will and should be the face of the next young generation of women feminists to show what to do. So.
She's right. I know Gail, and I'm with her no matter what. And in fact, I couldn't agree more. Sight unseen. But go ahead, Katie. Go ahead.
So I started off doing just social commentary about social media in general, and then with the kind of wave of OnlyFans becoming such a big part of social media, I ended up talking about OnlyFans and the normalization of it, and how young women are being sold this idea that porn is empowering and it's about, a woman's right to choose to do so,
Right.
and that kind of stuff. And then from there, I realized that, well, not only did I have interest in talking about that kind of stuff just because of my upbringing and my experiences with porn and my experiences with, men who have been consuming pornography their entire lives, and how normal it was when I was growing up, and how I was always told that I was, strange, controlling, weird for being so anti-porn. So when I realized,
for being asked to be treated like a human being.
yes, exactly. So when I started to realize as well that there was a lack of people talking about it, I thought, okay, well, there's definitely, there's a space here for me to bring my opinions, online, and obviously social media is a part of everybody's lives these days. So it's such a good way to reach people, and I have kind of reached more people than I could have ever imagined, really, and it was a very obviously there's elements of it that is nice to know that I'm reaching people, but it's also quite alarming and terrifying knowing that there's so many young girls out there and young boys who are in this pornified culture and feel like there isn't really and that many young people talking about it, because I think amongst a lot of my generation, it's very much like, to be I guess a good feminist in most people's eyes. I think my age, it's about accepting a woman's right to choose that she might want to do pornography and that kind of stuff. And obviously I've never agreed with that, and I think that kind of attitude is outrageous. So
yeah, that's just a laissez-faire. Everybody do whatever they want, no matter what.
Yes,
that
exactly.
has nothing to do
I think
with principled choices. Nothing.
Yes, exactly. And I think that kind of choice feminism is what I always call it, is something that's very, very prevalent in my generation.
Tell me something about your background, because you said the way you grew up and how you grew up. Was it very pro porn and relaxed, or
yeah? So
or was it the opposite?
I was kind of raised. So I had a phone at quite a young age. I don't think my parents are great and everything. We talk about this now, but my parents, I don't think, realized exactly what you can access online. They were quite oblivious to the online world. So I was left to my own devices.
Well, in that they're very similar to most parents today in the West. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's, again, something I like to talk about on my social media, is trying to, reach parents as well and say, like, it's not a matter of, if your child's going to come across pornography, it's when, because they will. And it's about, I guess, tackling that before it happens, because I think, myself and other young people that I know, I think their brains change so much, even just from coming across.
They're not fully formed yet until your late 20s. And so, I mean, that people are going in with partially formed mental capacities and expected to behave with the same wisdom as much older adults. It's not fair. It's just not fair.
Yeah, exactly. And I think when I was growing up, there just wasn't much awareness around what's online and the effect that it can have and will have on young people. So I guess I draw from my own experiences consuming pornography at a young age, which I think as well a lot of people don't really like to talk about, because it's like, it's just difficult, I think, for a lot of people to say out loud that, like, their pornography consumption as a child has had a detrimental impact on them. But I think in order to encourage other people to take a look at themselves and if they're consuming pornography, there needs to be more of an open conversation, because I don't think, like, shame is really helping anyone either. I think there needs to be more.
Oh God, no. Shame is not the point at all.
Yes, exactly.
That's in fact part of the argument of the other side, in a sense. They do both. They get you coming and they get you going, because they want you to be ashamed of it. There's a sort of frisson, thrill that they get from the very aspect of shaming, and so it all gets very mucked up together. Tell me, how are you dealing with well, I don't know how else to put it, but security. In other words, the internet is such an unfriendly place these days for women, period. Um, but then when you're taking on feminist issues like pornography, when you're taking on being brave enough to take these stands, you are clearly the recipient of a lot of hatred.
Hmm.
Do you get a lot of that? How do you deal with it, etc.?
Yeah. Well, so obviously being a woman on social media full stop means you're subject to a certain level of hate. So I
Right.
had I kind of got used to that quite quick. But then when I started to do content around, feminist issues, pornography, OnlyFans, that kind of stuff, that is when everything kind of increased. I
Oh,
think I try not to, I don't read comments that often.
uh-huh.
My partner kind of helps me filter through feedback to make sure I'm not reading the worst of the worst, because I mean, I have had some awful emails or comments,
Mm.
usually death threats, rape threats,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So, and with AI, I mean, you mentioned earlier Laura Bates' book. I have that book. I haven't quite got through it yet,
Oh,
but
I tell you, it takes your scalp off. It's because it puts you in the reality of the various places, and so it is. I don't know how to call this, Gail. It's like a third thing. It is neither reality, nor is it fantasy, nor is it, because your body goes through the same anxieties and panic and sweats and
Mhm.
that
Hmm.
it would in a
Yeah,
real situation. So it is a real situation, and it is also used as such, and it is so devilish. You just I kept having to put the book away and breathe,
yes,
just
yeah,
breathe, and then come back to it, and breathe more. And I called her afterwards, and I said, I mean, after we'd done the interview, and I said, listen, this is really heavy shit. I mean, and of course she knows that, and she doesn't have any guarantees, but the only thing that she is hoping is that enough people will recognize what it is they're seeing, if she helps lay the groundwork for the recognition. And I
You
think
know
that,
the problem with that, Robin, though, is
yeah.
that when men watch pornography, their frontal lobes shut down because they have an erection.
mm,
And you
Ah.
cannot do critical media literacy over pornography as you're masturbating to it.
yeah,
Well, of course
Right?
not.
So
yeah.
you've got no
So how do we
frontal.
deal with that?
Well, it's very interesting because, I've been giving these lectures on
Oh
the lecture
God.
circuit for God
Yeah.
knows how long. And what's happened lately is that porn has become so violent. And so for the first time ever, I'll go into a college and these guys have never seen pornography without an erection. So they've never really seen it.
Oh
So when
my.
I talk about it and I say to them, because this is the first time they're sitting in a hall, there's maybe 500, 1,000 people there. They're
Mm.
not going to, it's not a very sexual place in that way.
Right. Right.
And I tell you, the horror they feel, and these are college students. I mean, some of them come up to me crying because I say to them during the talk, I say, I bet that you do not want to look in the mirror and see staring back at you a man who gets aroused by this terrible level of violence against women. I
Oh.
do not believe this is who you want to be.
Oh,
And
how
they're like,
wonderful.
it's like a release off their shoulders. And when I first go in there to lecture, the hostility coming off the guys, the
Of
college
course, because you're the enemy.
and then within 10 minutes, if they could reach out and touch me, they would.
Oh, Gail, this is dynamite. This is
Yeah,
this is
it's amazing to see that because I
it's
touch them.
wonderful because it appeals to the best in a man,
Mm.
not the worst. I mean, while the entire porn industry is putting all of its weight on the worst. You are coming in there, little Gail, trooping in, and Katie, and saying, just wait a minute, wait. What about this? What about what you want? What about what is possible? What about um, positive outcomes? I mean, that's incredible.
Well, you have to keep males' frontal lobes on when you're discussing this, right?
Uh
Because
huh.
remember as well, their body gets flooded
I
with
see.
dopamine, and reminders of all the dopamine that they've released through masturbation to pornography. And dopamine also, that shuts down. That's your pleasure center. That shuts down also your frontal lobe. So they're not rationally engaging with pornography. They're just frantically looking for their
Right.
favorite scenes.
Right.
So that's why this education is so important. And I want to say one thing about Katie and her experiences and mine, which are so different. When I came of age, as a feminist, radical feminist in the anti-porn world. And you were one of the founders of this, Robin, of course, a critical founder. And I was surrounded, I was very young, and I had an incredible community, the radical feminist community. I mean, it was just amazing. Now Katie is completely alone.
Oh,
This is the horrible thing about it, is she's doing this amazing work, has at a young age got this incredible capacity for understanding what's going on.
oh, clearly.
Is brave enough to put herself out on YouTube
Yeah.
and everywhere else. And we were talking about this, Katie and I, last week, is she's got really no support. And do you remember how great the 80s and 90s were, Robin? We were all
Yes, of course. There was a movement. I mean,
it was a movement. And now Katie is kind of standing alone with nobody backing her.
well, we can help with this.
Horrible. It's just, and the courage that Katie shows to do this, it is, for me, amazing.
Oh, this is fantastic, Katie. I'm so glad that we've done this, and this is an opening sort of salvo now, because I know that I didn't see. I come from the part of society that is doesn't know about OnlyFans. We don't literally know. I mean, I only have heard of it because I went to your YouTube site once I heard your name, and I thought, okay, let's see what she's done. And then I heard OnlyFans, and I wasn't sure. Was it only farms? Only what was it? And that's how I learned about it. And this is massive effect on our youth. And you are at the heart of it, or the head of it, or the guts of it, saying the right things for a change, and saying things that will save the earth and front feminism and women for their survival. Because this is, I mean, the AI material that was depicted in the Bates book was so brain searing, just seared my brain, that I couldn't believe it. I couldn't see why anyone would take pleasure in it. I couldn't grok it at all. And but it takes somebody young. I mean, I'm not young anymore, and it takes somebody young saying this as it is, as they say, peer to peer. So I want to thank you both very, very much, and we will come back to this subject many times, and I will be in touch with you also, Katie. Are you working with Gail and through Gail? How are you doing this? Are you working together, or do you have a separate organization? What?
I'm completely separate. So my main thing, I just at the moment all I do is social media. So obviously I've done stuff with Gail, but no, I'm not like officially involved. I'm just kind of offering to help out where I can, really.
Oh my God! Well, you are dynamite. And I think Gail is absolutely right, and I think we'll get you to do some articles and some op-eds and a number of things, and I will work together with Gail on making that happen. So I want to thank you both very, very, very much for being with us. I wish we had more time, but we will come back to this many times, I assure you.
It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for having me on as well. Thank you.
It's time for another short break here, but I'll return in just a minute, so don't go away. The Women's Media Center, founded in 2005 by Jane Fonda, Gloria Steinem, and myself, is a progressive, nonpartisan, nonprofit organization working to make women visible and powerful in media. You can learn more about the WMC at womensmediacenter.com.
You're listening to Women's Media Center Live with Robin Morgan. Earthrise. What a hopeful word.
We all saw it, or many of us did, maybe most of us. We saw the dark side of the moon, the pocks and craters no human eye had ever spied on before. And at the other side, we saw the universe opening. And yes, it's difficult to conceive of the stupidity and violence taking place down there in the midst of such magnificence and such generosity. It's difficult to imagine anything taking place other than peace and laughter and overflowing largesse. For the moment, forget that this government slashed the budget for NASA. Forget the war in the Middle East. Forget the poverty everywhere and the fear. Forget the hatreds and the longings and all the despair. You might think of eyes all across the world, focused on this splendor, and on the fact that it was real, not deep-faked, not staged, not hacked together or pasted. It was real, happening now, brought about by the same fragile, culpable humans who had brought about such violence, such cupidity, such greed, yet who now were also capable of showing us such exquisite splendor. And yes, it was real, really there. Earth rising as seen from the dark side of the moon, as it truly, really is. May we find somewhere the grace to rise with it. And that's our show for this week. You can follow me on social media at The Robin Morgan. You can check out my blog at robinmorgan.net, and you can find my new novel, Parallax, and my just-out new book of poems, Harvesting Darkness, wherever books are sold. Portions of this program were taped earlier. Views expressed here do not necessarily represent the WMC. Here's the family for Women's Media Center Live. Executive producer, as well as founding and sustaining sponsor, Regina K. Scully. WMC president and co-executive producer for this program, Julie Burton. I'm Robin Morgan, your producer and host. Thank you for being with us. Join us next time on Women's Media Center Live.